My only query is that when things, it's better to be prepared than not. When the powers at hand have an open door, they never give the door away once it's been opened. In Laplace Demon, this is a thing of which, if you knew every atom in the entire universe, you'd be able to treat them as though they were classical mechanic objects. And the definition of quantum mechanics is the literal atom itself. Thank God there's only 4 forces of nature. The moment that you would think otherwise, that being like less than 4 in a grand unification of like 1 force, which actually in the universe, when it first was starting, all the forces were together, and then slowly thereafterwards they split out. But saying that they're all together still, you would have like a case where you could just pinpoint that I identify as this position in time where the forces were this much together. Or on the opposite end, saying that the forces of nature, there's more than just 4. And then because everything's a wave and a particle, you would have to double down and say something radical about the standard particle table model. The standard model of particle physics, the table is not complete yet, so you would have to adhere to the forces and then having them be as though you're indoctrinating something fantastic that would be the pinnacle of the giant gaps inside of the particle standard model table. And you would do so by saying that it's like a whole bunch of gray matter or a particle zoo. These two things could be as though the gray matter are WIMPs. WIMPs are weakly interacting like something particles, and that is what dark matter is, one of the candidates for dark matter, because we don't know that either. And so the moment that you're doing this, it's you're not wrong, it's just that no one knows the right way, the perfect way in doing things. And so that's kind of where, when you have these bills in Congress, like HR 666, when it says that the public health crisis is racism, and that the CDC is going to be collecting and analyzing information based upon which we don't know, because we don't know like the standard of how much research they want to do. And so within your genes, to know if you're like part racist or not, you're actually going to be like open to whatever they think, and they're collecting what they want to know. So at what point are you that point to be handled? It's a decent O-ring. It's a bit weathered and perforated. Part of the thing that I was trying to touch upon yesterday, was that in the model rocket, the paint job on it, you might think it's just not a big deal, but the more that you're going into depth with vast quantities being micromanaged on the small scale, maximum and minimum components, pretending to be like either the wave or particle, you're gonna actually see things that are like really shouldn't really matter, but they actually do. So like when there's paint jobs on stuff, and they're going like really dynamically, like a model rocket in its takeoff. The slightest chipping of paint could act as like that O-ring that we saw would have like an entirely different trajectory. So the complexions of reality, it can't be distorted. But if you don't know any better, do you deserve what scientists of the world are doing? When push comes to shove, or give or take, these are words. If there's a temperature inside a giant room and it's really warm, you won't really notice how warm it is unless you can see with your bare eyes fog on windows. The fog on the windows will be propelled, they'll be enhanced if there is a door open, especially if it's ajar near a window. So the largeness of the room and the pressure of beneath a screw are both deterministics that can make drastic differences inside of any event, especially ones that you would not think could have occurred, because you never expect those two variables to have an impact, but they can. It's almost as if a snowball's chance in hell. Whereas if you had such a symmetric snowball, despite it being small and despite there not being any flux of cold temperature inside of a underworld of a lake of fire, if the snowball's symmetry is so strong and calculated accordingly to every wisp of wind on the lake of fire's ripple, it could have some withstanding in time, though it may seem like it wouldn't have any chance. The symmetry can be like really great, and that's the difference between no chance in hell and it actually getting there in order to see the initial reaction. Might not be able to pick up on it because the camera isn't doing it justice. But the effect we were speaking on earlier, let's see if we're in frame. No, we weren't. No, we are. The effect I'm speaking about earlier, when things aren't, but they shouldn't be, but they seem that they are, is like the mirage effect on blacktops, how there's like a liquidy kind of illumination coming off of it instead of like just pure air that you would look through without light doing anything funny. It looks like there's gas seeping up from like the ground, is the mirage effect. This is enhanced if it has a backdrop of like a rough linearity or just like bricks, you know, the verticality of the linearity of bricking. It enhances so you're able to see like this mirage effect easier. And this enhancement is something like what a paint job would do if it were like really great.